This hot sauce is homemade. It is very spicy and very good. It's called Meyer Fire, which incidentally is a family name that Maureen is related to. There are Myers in her family, so we use it all the time. It's really good.
You use it all the time.
I use it all the time. I have an addiction to Meyer Fire, but it's great hot sauce, so if you're ever at our house, you can try it out. Dinner was sponsored by Maureen today, and our video is going to be at our dinner table. I was at a water safety instructor school today, so Maureen cooked, which is nice. And you can see what we're eating. What is it?
Burgers.
Burgers and rice and salad. So, pretty great. But we do have a video topic that we'll get into in a short moment once our plates are full. But I know a lot of you were asking about the Bruderhof and courtship and how we do, like, couples. How do couples start relationships with each other before they're married, and what does that process look like in our community? So basically, we're just going to tell you our experience, and not everyone's experience is the same, but it should give you a window into kind of how it works and obviously what our story is. So that's what we're going to talk about. So Maureen, like, say someone asked you, like, what was our courtship process like, or whatever, like, what would your answer be for them? Like, what did we do and not do, and that type of thing.
Well, first of all, what we did was base our relationship off of our faith in God and in Jesus, and our commitment to this church to begin with, before anything else. So that's how our whole, like, time of courtship went before we were engaged or married. A lot of it was we would read from the Bible, or we would send each other letters with our thoughts, that whatever we were thinking about, maybe a Bible passage or an encouraging song, or just life stuff, like, honestly, just getting to know the other person as a person. And obviously the end goal was that we would get married, but it wasn't focused on, like, oh, how much we loved each other or how much we were in love or anything like that. Like, that obviously was natural to the relationship, but it wasn't, I don't know, because I feel like if that's what was driving it, or if it was just focused on feelings, then it could just, like, take off and go off a deep end without you wanting it to. So yeah, I lived, for a lot of the time, I was up here in Woodcross, and Ruben was down in New York City, so we didn't even really see each other the entire time until he moved up here in summer before we were married. So we just spent time together. We would write letters, like I said, or we would, once he moved here, we would go out in the evenings, take a car, and go some local spot and talk about different things, maybe have something to eat, whatever. Yeah. And that's how our relationship was, and that's what it was based off of. And just, like, getting to know the other person and their story, and what motivates them, what your thoughts are about life and family and raising a family and being married and all of that. So that's what it was.
Yeah. I think, like, I mean, the Bruderhof does not have a set of rules for how courtship should be done. There is not a playbook, right?
Right.
So, how does it work? Basically, we were obviously in love with each other, but like Maureen said, our relationship had to be based off of our faith. And also, we got counseling from our pastors here on the community, and we met with them and just talked about things we were discussing or issues we were dealing with. And I think in one way that it was interesting for us was that both of us had kind of grown up being raised mostly by our moms. So our like visions of what a marriage was definitely affected by that, by the fact that even though we were on the community around a lot of what you might call stable marriages, we did not have our dads in our lives on the day-to-day for our entire childhoods. I had my dad more in my life than Maureen did, but like that, all I'm trying to say is that affected like some of my ideas of like what I wanted out of marriage, and I guess probably for you too, right? Or like questions you had.
Yeah.
Or concerns or this type of thing, and so it was like really important that we actually talked about those things and talked about them with our pastors, and like kind of took our time to get to know each other. Not to say that we're going to have a fail-safe marriage. We just rely on God every day, obviously, like any other couple does, I think, but that we could learn from the past and also understand each other, because obviously we want our marriage to stay together, and that's what we promised to do. So that part was very personal for us. And then a really great part, though, was what Maureen was saying, like just going on a drive together, getting a coffee, learning about each other's families, and like having time where we were not in the community to just like talk to each other and be friends and not be under pressure. There's no time pressure. There's no certain time when people get married here. There's no certain age. And so that's kind of what we did, and also obviously read the Bible a lot together, and like, yeah, just learn who each other were and learn how to like pray together. That was like a big thing for me, but probably for both of us, because when you're single, you just pray by yourself, and you are you, and da 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 da, and you do whatever you want to do. But it's really cool when you can learn how to do that with somebody else, and it's natural because you're friends, obviously, but also to make the bond like about your faith again and like rooted in that. So that's pretty much like how it went. And how long did we court for before we got married or engaged? Sorry. Was it a year, right?
Yeah, like 10.5 months or something.
Yeah. So I'm sure in a lot of your mind's eye, that's pretty short. But we did know each other before that. It wasn't like I met Maureen that, a year ago or something like that.
No, yeah, we knew each other since grade school, so it wasn't like a new person that we'd never heard of before or seen or knew anything about. We were neighbors for ages, it seemed like. Yep. So, and that way we were also actually really lucky to have had a prior, like, friendship a lot of our growing up years. I think it was a huge advantage just knowing at least each other's families growing up and knowing a bit about, at least that much about each other, and sort of the general, like, I don't know, likes and dislikes, this kind of thing. Instead of just starting from scratch and having no clue about anything about the other person. And then that friendship that we had obviously just got stronger and deeper. Obviously we lived separately. We were not together in any physical way.
Right.
We kept that at a talking level, basically, until we got married.
We basically didn't even hold hands, really.
Right.
Not much.
Which is another important thing, because we were very fortunate that our relationship worked out and that we ended up getting married, but obviously, as everyone knows, that's not the case for everyone, and some relationships end and whatever, for whatever reason, or break up or get messy or have to be ended for other whatever. So the fact that we could just keep our relationship to talking to each other and discussing important things in life, then when we get married, it was like a confirmation of that, and then everything else follows instead of the other way around, and then you're like burnt by your experience.
And by somebody else.
Right.
I mean, whatever. Not that you can't be friends with someone you don't end up getting engaged and married
Right.
to, but whatever, things happen and you don't want to do the physical stuff until you know, right, that he or she is the one. And like, that was like, to be honest, obviously that's hard if you're attracted to somebody, but I believe it's the only right way of doing it. And I know a lot of you who will watch this probably have very different experiences or whatever, but I really, even, you know, before we were in a relationship with each other, just talking with my friends, some of my friends who had not been celibate, you know, but had then come to deciding that living celibate, at least before marriage, is really important, just confirmed for me the way I was raised that that's right. And so here we are now, and I'm really grateful that that's what we did and what we believe, because also when you're married, like, that shouldn't be the only reason why you're together.
Right.
You should work, you should have a common goal. You know, if you're going to have a family, there's things to focus on. Work, you can't, you know, be so distracted by someone that you can't be functional anymore.
Right.
But you can be a team and love each other, and I guess that's what really it boils down to, is like love. True love is like unconditional, and it's honestly, it's not dependent on your physical contact with someone, you know. I mean, just isn't. It's not everything, even though it takes up so much space in my mind sometimes, you know, but there's other things to do and there's life to live, and I think that's really important. And that's also where you get help from close friends, our moms, pastors, just help, you know, people that are there to help.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty much our story. I'm trying to think if we missed out anything. Oh, yes. One thing that might be unique that you might be interested in is how long we were engaged for. We were engaged for a week, right?
Yeah, a week and a day.
We were engaged for 1 week and 1 day. So by the time we got engaged, obviously we didn't need to wait around, because we whatever, felt like we'd done the work and we were sure. So that might be a shock to some of you. Oh gosh. Yes. So that is the story. So hopefully you enjoyed, and you weren't bored by that terrible tale of woe.